A man who reacts first is a man who loses control. He becomes a slave to the timing of others, a puppet pulled into the tempo of someone else's agenda. While he's scrambling to respond, his opponent is already setting the next trap. This is the silent reason why the most dominant figures in courts, corporations, or kingdoms always appear calm, even slow. Not because they're weak, but because they understand something most never do. Timing is power, and the first to react is usually the first to fall. Niccolò Machiavelli warned against being predictable, but more than that, he warned against being immediately responsive. In politics, the man who reacts first is the man who shows his cards. He reveals his emotional state, his desperation, his lack of leverage. The power player waits, watches, lets others reveal themselves first, their fears, their intentions, their level of control. And then, only when the field is fully visible, he moves. This is not cowardice. It's precision. It's the art of controlling outcomes by controlling your own impulses. And in this era of instant messages, viral outrage, and fast emotional bait, the ability to not react is the modern version of psychological invincibility. Reaction is surrender in disguise. The moment someone can provoke you into reacting, they have already taken something from you, your balance, your detachment, your power to choose when and how to engage. This is why provocateurs never fear the impulsive man. They fear the one who stares through them, unmoved. The one who listens but gives nothing back. The one who says without a single word, "You are not worth my energy." Not yet. Machiavelli's model of power wasn't built on speed. It was built on restraint, emotional discipline, a willingness to let chaos unfold, as long as it unfolded on the enemy's side first. Think of every great betrayal in history. The fool reacts instantly, loudly, seeking justice. The master waits, gathers positions, then strikes when it benefits him most. The one who moves first must guess. There's a reason generals in war bait their enemies into attacking first. The attacker must guess the defender's strategy. They must commit before they see the full layout. And once committed, they cannot take it back. The same applies in verbal disputes, negotiations, or psychological warfare. The one who reacts first doesn't just show his position. He also becomes trapped inside it. Reacting first is gambling before you've even seen the table. But when you delay even just by seconds, you force others to reveal more. You watch them twitch, stumble, adjust. You see how confident they really are. You measure their reach, their fear, their weakness. This silence gives you more than time. It gives you intel, and that intel is your edge. People reveal themselves when you don't. Most people fear silence. It makes them uncomfortable. When you don't react, they keep talking, trying to fill the void, trying to force your response. But in doing so, they overexpose themselves. They reveal their insecurities, their intentions, their emotional state. And all you had to do was not speak. Machiavelli would walk into court and say little. He let others make assumptions, let them talk too much. Then, when they thought they had him figured out, he would speak, briefly, precisely, and with impact. He didn't win by being the loudest. He won by forcing others to disarm themselves with their own mouths. In your own life, this is the rule. When someone pressures you to respond now, don't. Make them sit in the discomfort. Make them reveal their game. Timing is a weapon. Use it deliberately. To the untrained, delayed reaction looks like hesitation. But to the strategist, it's leverage. A pause before answering a question makes your response seem measured, not emotional. A delay in confrontation creates tension, and tension makes people second-guess their next move. If someone insults you, don't clap back immediately. Hold eye contact. Say nothing. Let the silence harden. That moment, that absence of response, often does more damage than any insult could, because they'll spend the next hour, day, or week wondering what you're going to do, and the imagination always punishes harder than reality. Machiavelli knew that fear of the unknown creates more submission than force ever could. He used timing like poison, invisible but always working. First reaction equals first exposure equals first target. In dangerous environments, political, corporate, or social, the first to speak becomes the focal point. The first to move becomes the benchmark. And often the first to react becomes the scapegoat. This is why real power doesn't seek to win the moment. It seeks to win the dynamic. And the dynamic is always tilted in favor of the one who watches. Let them come to you. Let them strike first. Let them try to corner you into a reaction. But give them nothing until your silence becomes unbearable. And then, when you do act, do so with such disproportionate clarity that they realize you were never sleeping. You were waiting. Control is more powerful than victory. If you lash out and win, people fear your temper. If you wait, calculate, and win, people fear your mind. This is what Machiavelli understood better than anyone. He didn't want to be seen as merely dangerous. He wanted to be seen as in control, because control survives longer than brute force. It earns respect that fear alone cannot, and it makes people think twice, not just about attacking you, but even about involving you. When people speak of you, let them say, "He never speaks unless it's necessary. She never shows her hand, but when she moves, everything changes. You won't even realize you lost until weeks later." That is what untouchable power sounds like. When you refuse to react first, you're not surrendering the moment. You're owning the game board. You're forcing everyone else to play faster, louder, sloppier. And in that chaos, you are the constant, the one who cannot be shaken, the one who cannot be baited, the one who, when he finally speaks, ends the conversation. The most dangerous men are not those who speak first, shout the loudest, or charge into every battle with fists clenched. The most dangerous are the ones who don't flinch, who don't respond, who don't rush. They watch. They let everyone else burn energy, reveal intentions, form alliances out of fear. And when the time is right, when every card has been shown, they make one calculated move that shifts the balance entirely. This is Machiavellian patience, the quiet game of dominance that makes others act emotional while you remain untouchable. And it only works if you master the art of not reacting first, ever. The trap of ego. They want you to defend yourself. The easiest way to bait a powerful person into weakness is to poke their pride, to question their credibility, to say things in public they know will make you want to respond, because the moment you respond, you become predictable. Machiavelli's lesson is clear. Never defend yourself under pressure. Never take the bait of justification. The second you try to explain yourself, you're already beneath the person who accused you. A king does not argue with a peasant. A strategist does not explain their silence. If they misunderstood you, let them. If they spread rumors, let them talk. If they try to provoke, smile and leave them hanging. Because nothing confuses the enemy more than refusing to validate their attacks with a reaction. Strategic passivity is power in disguise. Passive people are often seen as weak. But strategic passivity, chosen silence, chosen stillness, is control. It forces the world to tilt toward you, not because you're loud, but because you've become the immovable piece everyone has to consider before making their next move. While others are driven by the need to speak, respond, correct, and engage, you're driven by the need to win. Let them chase status. You chase position. Let them chase arguments. You chase timing. Eventually, they will exhaust themselves trying to pull you into a fight. But you won't move, not until the silence has built so much weight that when you finally act, the blow is psychological, not just tactical, the weapon of delayed response. There is a reason powerful people do not respond immediately. It's not because they're unsure. It's because every delay shifts the psychological pressure back onto the opponent. Delay is dominance. It shows that you are not ruled by others' clocks, that you answer when you decide, not when summoned. In personal disputes, a pause before answering makes your opponent over-explain. A day of silence after an insult makes them question if they went too far. A week of no comment after a rumor lets the rumor rot under its own weight. Machiavelli would weaponize time like a scalpel, not because he needed to stall, but because he knew they would destroy themselves in the waiting. Emotions are bait. Let others reveal theirs first. Every emotional outburst is a confession. Anger reveals fear. Defensiveness reveals insecurity. Over-apologizing reveals guilt. When you react emotionally, even if you're right, you hand your opponent a map of your psychology. They now know what triggers you, what offends you, what you're desperate to protect. Machiavelli never showed anger unless it was part of the plan. He'd let others display their fury first, to learn how they operated, what their priorities were, what fears hid beneath their noise. And once he saw their weakness, he struck with calm, merciless precision. The lesson is this: let others feel first. Let them bleed emotion. You stay composed because whoever stays composed controls the rhythm of the war. The power of being unreadable. There is a particular kind of fear that surrounds unreadable people, those who do not react the way others expect, the ones whose faces reveal nothing, whose tone never shifts, whose timing cannot be predicted. This isn't about being robotic. It's about being deliberately untraceable. When people don't know what offends you, they don't know how to offend you. When they don't know what excites you, they don't know how to manipulate you. To be unreadable is to be ungraspable, and to be ungraspable is to be uncontrollable. If you want to be untouchable, learn to let others study your silence while you study their desperation to break it. That desperation is your advantage. Let others make the first mistake. When you hold back your reaction, the burden of action falls on the other person. And people under pressure, especially when trying to manipulate you, often overplay their hand. They try too hard. They reveal too much. They move too early. And in doing so, they create vulnerabilities that wouldn't have existed if you'd reacted first. Let them lie. Let them posture. Let them build their trap too wide. You stand just outside its reach, watching, waiting, letting them believe they've won. Then, when they've exposed themselves, you move. And it doesn't have to be loud. One quiet, well-timed strike ruins 1,000 moves made in noise. In stillness, you become a mirror. One of Machiavelli's most subtle tactics was to let people project their thoughts, fears, and expectations onto him. He'd remain vague, quiet, unreadable, and in that vacuum, people would start imagining who he was. They'd assign motives to him: paranoia, respect, fear. But it was all their own reflection. He simply mirrored it back. When you react first, you rob people of this projection. But when you remain still, they fill the silence with their own assumptions, often ones that serve your advantage. Let them think you're angry. Let them think you're weak. Let them guess. Every wrong assumption weakens their future strategy. Do nothing and let the room turn. Sometimes the greatest move is none at all. When a group turns against you, don't beg. When they whisper, don't defend. When they act unjustly, don't flail. Just wait. Watch. Let it play out. Because people who betray, slander, or provoke usually burn their own credibility in the process if you give them enough rope. Machiavelli would sit through betrayals, knowing that over time, factions would collapse on their own contradictions. And when they did, he'd step back in, unchanged, unmoved, undamaged. The longer you can do nothing while others self-destruct, the more terrifying your presence becomes. They'll say he didn't even react. She didn't move a finger, and yet we lost. That's not just dominance. That's myth. You don't need to speak first. You don't need to respond at all. Let the world scream. Let the room turn. Let your enemies bleed their energy trying to force your hand. Because when you master the power of silence, timing, and emotional stillness, you don't just become feared, you become untouchable. In the corridors of power, real authority is rarely the one giving the loudest speech. It's the one whose silence shifts the atmosphere. It's the one no one wants to speak before. The one whose opinion people wait for. The one whose reaction defines the room because it hasn't come yet. This is the final form of not reacting first, when you extend it beyond personal interaction and into social command. Machiavelli wasn't just a master of psychological warfare, he was a tactician of human environments. He knew how to control entire factions, circles, and courts by saying less than everyone else. Establish reputation through stillness, not assertion. In group settings, most people think reputation is earned through visibility, constant contributions, being the loudest voice, fighting for their ideas to be heard. But Machiavelli would argue the opposite. True dominance in a room comes from the one who speaks least, but moves most intentionally. Your silence isn't passive, it's charged. It makes others second-guess themselves. It makes them crave your input. And when you finally speak, even briefly, everyone listens. Not because your voice is loud, but because your restraint has built value. The person who reacts first is always at the mercy of the conversation. The one who waits shapes the direction of the conversation. This is how you establish authority in silence. In meetings, say less but change more. Every room has a hidden hierarchy. It's not the official structure on paper. It's the emotional map. Who sets the tone? Who others seek approval from? Who people imitate? You don't gain that position by dominating. You gain it by withholding, observing, and speaking when stakes are high. The fewer words you speak, the more power each one carries. Say nothing for the first 20 minutes. Let everyone reveal their motives, their insecurities, their allegiances. Watch who needs attention. Watch who positions themselves. You're learning the game before entering it. Then, when someone makes a suggestion, an accusation, or a bold move, wait a beat, 2 beats. Let the tension build. Then speak with surgical clarity. 1 sentence, 1 sharp angle. That's enough. You've just repositioned the room around your voice and made everyone think twice about speaking again without considering how you will react. Let others build alliances first, then fracture them. In any social group or power structure, alliances form quickly, but most are emotionally driven, not strategically sound. They're built on shared gossip, mutual enemies, or surface-level charm. Let them form. Watch them link arms, smile politely, say little. Then, when you see a crack, apply quiet pressure. A whisper to the right person at the right time. A cold observation about how unreliable someone's been. A delayed correction that makes a loyalist question their leader. If you react too early, by trying to split the alliance openly, you become the enemy. But when you wait, let their instability ripen and say just enough to accelerate the fracture, they tear each other apart on their own. That's how empires fall, not by outside attack, but from a seed of doubt planted by someone who didn't even look like a threat. Appear neutral until it's profitable to choose a side. In conflict-heavy environments, there's always pressure to pick sides early. Those who react first often do so from fear. Fear of being left out. Fear of seeming indecisive. But power players, they never react first to division. They let the lines be drawn. They let emotions flare up, and they remain exactly where no one can place them. This does 2 things. It makes both sides want to win you over. It gives you the power to decide the outcome by picking when it matters most. Machiavelli's entire strategy was built on this. Let others fight. Then support the side that will owe you the most when they win. And if both sides collapse, Even better, you enter the ashes with clean hands. Use delayed reaction to shift blame and spotlight. Silence can do more than control perception. It can redirect blame. In groups, the person who reacts first is often the one who absorbs pressure, the one who stays quiet, whose thoughts remain unknown, becomes the one others project safety onto. When tension rises, don't offer solutions. Don't defend yourself. Don't take control. Let others scramble. Let them throw names, shift guilt, play savior. Then, once the dust has settled and people start regretting what they said or did, you appear calm, collected, precise. You offer insight, not opinion. You appear not as someone involved, but as someone above. And just like that, the blame passes you, the spotlight turns toward you, and your influence expands while everyone else tries to recover. Don't defend, redefine. In group settings, when accused or questioned, most people defend themselves. Bad move. That's reaction. A Machiavellian mind doesn't defend, it redefines the situation entirely. If someone attacks your intentions, don't deny. Shift the narrative. If I were emotional, I'd react like you're doing right now. But I'm here to fix the problem. You've just reframed their aggression as immaturity and your silence as maturity. Now the group sees them as erratic and you as the adult in the room. Every reaction is a trap, but every pause is a door, a chance to walk out of the accusation into higher ground. And when you reframe rather than respond, you set the narrative that everyone else now has to follow. Time the final move so it feels inevitable. When you never react first, and when you let others reveal, divide, accuse, defend, and collapse, your eventual move becomes mythical. Not because it's dramatic, but because you waited until the moment where any other move would seem foolish. They fought, they flailed, they exposed themselves, they failed to solve anything. Then you arrive, the one who always looked calm, always remained detached, always said little. Now, when you speak, it doesn't just sound smart, it sounds necessary. And when you act, it doesn't look like ambition. It looks like order being restored. You didn't react first. You made them burn themselves alive. You made the room turn itself into chaos. And then you simply walked through it, untouched. That is real power. That is Machiavelli's rule.